Well, anyway, that kind of ruined my point there, but basically here's the world of wine, right? And it's a lot to look at. But wine or vines for winemaking production, good wine, only grows between these latitudes. So we can actually get rid of like half the world, right? And a lot of those regions really up. So there's your fifth and third geography. And now we're going to talk about how we go ahead, sorry, question. Really, and it's getting skewed now because of climate change, and a lot of places are getting warmer. But yeah, so. Oh, well, this is northern and southern hemisphere. So, yeah, so there's 30 and 50 degrees latitude in the north, and then in the bottom, I probably just changed it too quick. You're absolutely right. So, let's go one more. So this is the world of wine, and that's how it is. So here you go. You've got Chile, right? You've got Argentina. Here's South Africa, absolutely. Aussies would probably know this. That's the southern wine. And of course, the New Zealand. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the components you're facing as we do this. So scales, right? That's how we measure things. What is a scale? The scale is as easy as a flat line, right? And then we have to put marks on the scale so that we can measure things from high to low. Right in the center is usually medium. And when we talk about line, this is how we communicate, at least in our own mind, this is how we create a scale. Low, medium, high, and medium minus and medium plus, right? And some people like to use numbers, some people like to use colors. So if you develop a scale in mind's eye a little bit, put whatever marker you need, whether it's numbers that give you a high or low indicator, it could be colors like green going with gold or red or whatever you want to do. But that's the scale. And alcohol is the first thing we're going to talk about. So alcohol is super cool for a lot of reasons, right? I mean, high school is definitely awesome. But more importantly, when we taste wine, we see alcohol in three different ways. You can smell wine. It has viscosity, so the higher the alcohol, the more viscous the mouthfeel. And then finally, there's a thermal component, so you can actually feel it hot in the back of your throat, right? So what I want you to do is pick up the first little plastic cup on your left, and before you drink it, just want to let you know this was donated by a family friend, and it's moonshine. So this is a great indicator for high alcohol. If you don't want to drink moonshine, feel free not to. You can smell it. You can probably smell that it's high alcohol. But go ahead and swish it around your mouth when you taste it. That'll be a fun way to get things started. Is there any extra?
Yeah, there's some back here.
So, that's hot, right? I mean, it's hot. It coats your palate, right? I mean, I'm still trying to get it off my palate. And you definitely smell alcohol. So, check the box on high alcohol there. Yeah, go ahead.
What were the three components of like added alcohol?
Yes, you can smell it. Yeah, you can smell it coming off the surface area of the wine. Actually, you can smell alcohol. When you taste it, the higher the alcohol, the higher the viscosity, richness, mouthfeel. We were talking about that. And then finally, when we talk about finish, especially in wine, if you feel that little burn, wine is still showing that this has high alcohol. There's a thermal component, so it shows it's hot. But alcohol in wine is measured in alcohol by volume, just like everything else. So we're going to use this scale. I would say 11% and less is getting low alcohol. 12 to 13 is moderate. That's sort of where balance in wine from days before was achieved. 12 to 13 is alcohol. And then high, for me, 14, 15 and above is getting towards high alcohol. And acidity. So acidity is measured in grams per liter, and that's kind of a well. Make sure this is no alcohol, I promise, so don't worry. Switch this around really good. This is white grapefruit juice. And hopefully this is pretty tart. It came out of a plastic jug, so it might have a good bit of sugar in it. Yeah, that's pretty tart. I think if you taste the white wine that had that much acidity, you would put that on the high side, right? Okay, so that's really all for acidity. Any questions there? I think that's
I goes back to the first part. What is the master? You said that sugar is started at a very
yeah, so actually, if we go back to
what's that master?
birds, if you go back to birds eating berries, right? When the vine starts growing, the berries start out very early, and they're very hard, and they're green, and they're unpalatable. Humans don't want to eat them, birds don't want to eat them. They're full of acid, and this is the time where the cells just divide, and then we get the berries on, or color change, and at that point, the marks will change, where instead of cells dividing, they start to enlarge, and then there's a process called respiration. And during respiration, the grape actually uses the acidity. Malic acid is probably the most common one in the taste, and it spends that during respiration, and that's when sugar starts getting increased. Remember back to that graph, acidity dropping and sugar increasing. So, and this is really where the manipulation happens, right? In a warm climate, it gets so hot during the day that these grapes are respirating so much that they spend all their acid. And there's two types of impurity in grapes as the sugar is increasing. There's sugar accumulation, but then there's also phenolic or physiological impurity. And this is where grapes start to develop their sense of place, right? They give you their varietal characteristics. And so if sugar goes up too high and acidity is dropping really low because you're in a warm temperature, you might have to harvest before the grape has a chance to develop physiologically, to develop the tart cherry that we all expect to be in the wine, right? Tannin is kind of a tough one. I thought about a lot of things when we think about tannin, we think about skins and fruits and that sort of thing. In wine, we let the skins macerate on the juice, right? And that imparts tannin, and we also age it in barrels, oak barrels, and that imparts tannin. But for us, this actually gave me I had a hard time finding something that really was tannic when I tasted it. And so I went to try and do Nebbiolo. And so in your third glass, you have one of the most tannic varietals of wines. Does anybody know where Nebbiolo is from? What's that? Okay, how about the most sort of classic, pure expression of Nebbiolo? Where are they? There's two places. You just scream it out. No, you have to raise your hand. Italy, that's Piedmont, yeah. Barolo and Barbaresco, right? So these wines, they age for a long time, and it's because they're high acid and highly organic grapes. So go ahead and when you taste this Nebbiolo, I know it's a small taste. I think we actually have probably a little bit left over if anybody wants to. We've got a lot of those. So if you guys want to pass this around and take a little bit larger taste, at least enough to swish around. To me, Nebbiolo is like stuffing a dry white athletic sock in your mouth and straight out of the plastic bag, right? I mean, it's just, that's tannin, right? So, mark high tannin on your list there for Nebbiolo. And then finally, we talk about sugar. We talked a lot about sugar and acidity already. With red wine, it's almost always fermented dry, so we don't really talk too much about sugar, but I wanted to, at least for your palate, something sweet. So in your fourth glass, you have pineapple juice, right? And if you switch this around a pretty good bit, it's probably going to taste really disgusting after Nebbiolo from Malage. But switch this around, and you should certainly taste sugar. There's probably, I didn't look at the thing, but there's probably 30 grams per liter of sugar or more in this pineapple juice. It's just the bar pineapple. Really high sugar, and maybe you get some acidity. So this is high sugar, low acid. And those are the components of taste. So, here's the good thing, and I mentioned it before. All human palates are the same, right? Nobody in this room is experiencing alcohol that much differently than you. Nobody in the room is experiencing sugar that much differently. Sugar is actually one of the weird ones. And I'll go scientific one more time. At 10 grams per liter, or 1% sugar in a bottle of wine, that's sort of the cutoff point. That's the 50-50, where 50% of the people in the room will say, that's sweet, or that has sugar, and 50% will say, I don't taste any sugar. What was that number? 10 grams per liter, or 1% sugar. Generally, we think of 4 grams per liter, 5 or 4 grams per liter, or less being undetectable by the human palate. And that's sort of a, I don't have a reference to that, but I'm going to actually look it up. But I think that's generally where we find bone dry wine is less than 4 grams per liter. Okay. So that's the scale. Today we have 4 lines and we have 2 goals. And basically we're going to measure the structure of each line or variety. And we're going to use our building blocks, things like geography and varietal characteristics to develop a story about wine. So here's your region, variety, and climate. We've got Pinot Noir, Burgundy, continental climate. We've got Syrah from the north of Rhone. We've got the Grenache blend from the southern Rhone. I think about 65% Grenache, so a bit more than Grenache. And we've got Bordeaux from the left bank. Anybody know the main difference between the main general difference between left bank and right bank Bordeaux? Yep, red bank is usually a Merlot blend, Cabernet in a lot of cases, and left bank is more Cabernet based. And interestingly, that all has to do with climate, right? I mean, producers and wine growers are not just randomly saying, hey, I want to grow Cabernet, right? They're planting grapes, and over time they figure out which one ripens the best in that climate and because of the other characteristics of the topography. Okay, so remember the delayed magic that we talked about, I don't know, it's been 45 minutes ago, right? So take the glass, pick up the one that, pick it up gently, the one that sort of triggered the best connection with you. And now stick your nose maybe a couple inches off the glass, and then stick it in the glass without swirling and get that deep whiff. Hopefully you smell something quite a bit different than you did when you swirled and you smelled. Basically, when we smell wine, when we stir things up, we break up the surface tension, and then there's phenolic compounds that come out of the glass. And the primary ones are usually fruit, and that's why normally when you swirl a glass, you stick your nose in it, and the first thing you smell is, well, is it strawberry? Maybe you say red fruit, maybe you say black fruit, maybe you say stone fruit, maybe it's plum or jam, but it's fruit. And once we do that, it's tough to get back to those secondary characteristics. But when the wine sits, those secondary characteristics just kind of creep up and get into the glass. And that's one of the first things I learned from a master sommelier. And so before you just go ahead and give a swirl, always sniff it first and get a good memory of what that smells like, and then swirl and get those primary ones. It's tough to get back to the secondary characteristics sometimes. Okay, so, yes, please.
Primary characteristics that express before you swirl.
After you swirl. So, and sometimes like really earthy, dirty wines, and dirty is a word I like to use when I describe rustic wines, maybe those secondary characteristics are actually the primary characteristics.